You're crouched behind what's left of a stone wall in a small German town. It's April 1945, and you're leading your platoon through yet another nameless village on the road to Leipzig. The shriek of an 88mm shell fills the air. That sound you've learned to dread. The explosion throws dirt and debris over your helmet. Your hands grip your M1 Garand rifle. The wood scorched from constant firing. Just ahead, German machine guns open up from concealed positions on a hillside. The deadly ripping sound of an MG-42 sends your men diving for cover. You've got 40 men depending on your decisions in the next few seconds. One wrong move, and those machine guns will cut your platoon to pieces. Do you call for artillery support and risk losing the element of surprise? Do you attempt a flanking maneuver through the exposed fields? Or do you order a frontal assault and pray your men's training and firepower can overwhelm the defenders? The choice you make will determine who goes home and who doesn't. This isn't Hollywood. This isn't a war game. This was the reality for 2nd Lieutenant Crandon F. Clark and the men of the 69th Infantry Division as they fought their way across Germany in the final months of World War II. Welcome to POV World War II. I'm your host, Fernando Prieto. And today we're taking you inside one infantryman's war, from the frozen foxholes of the Siegfried Line to the rubble-strewn streets of Leipzig, from a close encounter with a Tiger tank to the historic link-up with Soviet forces at the Elbe River. You'll experience what it meant to be a 23-year-old platoon leader making life and death decisions every day, knowing that infantry officers had one of the highest casualty rates of the war. What drives a young man to keep going when he knows the statistics are against him? How do you maintain your humanity while fighting through hostile territory? And what's it really like when the enemy you've been trained to defeat suddenly becomes thousands of prisoners you have to manage? This is Crandon Clark's story. Today, it's yours. It's 1940. You're a freshman at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and you're struggling academically. You're more interested in football and track than your studies. You spend your evenings working as an usher at the State Theater for 40 cents an hour, watching films like Gone with the Wind played to packed houses. Your father sells office systems for a living. Your family isn't wealthy. The Depression hit everyone hard, but they've managed to send you to college. That's more than most families can say in 1940. You join Delta Kappa Epsilon fraternity, where you have your own room and can study away from the card players and radio listeners who waste their afternoons. ROTC is mandatory for your first 2 years. It seems like an easy course, a chance to get outside and learn some basic military skills. You and your classmates treat it as something of a joke. You wear Dickies, fake shirt fronts from your theater job, under your uniform jacket to avoid wearing a full dress shirt. Who takes this military stuff seriously anyway? Then comes December 7th, 1941. You're home from college when the radio program is interrupted. Pearl Harbor is under attack. The United States is at war. Everything changes overnight. The physical requirements for ROTC become more rigorous. Students begin disappearing from campus as they enlist or get drafted. What was once a game is now deadly serious. Can you feel the shift in atmosphere? The uncertainty creeping through the dormitories and fraternity houses? Do you continue your education, knowing you'll likely be called up anyway? Or do you enlist now and get it over with? Your father dies suddenly in November 1941, just a month before Pearl Harbor. You're now the son of a widow with 3 siblings. You need that education more than ever, but you also know your duty. You sign up for advanced ROTC, committing yourself to military service upon graduation. If you're going to serve, you reason, Better to do it as an officer making decisions than as an enlisted man taking orders. June 1943. The call comes. The Army needs men now. You and 49 other Rutgers ROTC students, later to be known as the Black 50, are ordered to report for active duty. There will be no senior year, no college graduation ceremony. Your education is being put on hold indefinitely. The train ride to Fort McClellan, Alabama takes 2.5 days. You're crammed into ancient Southern Railroad cars, eating nothing but K-rations. By the time you arrive, you're covered in soot and grime from the journey. An old sergeant named Greenway from Alma, Georgia, takes one look at your group and declares, "I've never seen a blacker bunch of white men arrive at this camp than you fellas." Basic training is nothing like ROTC. 16 weeks of pure physical and mental stress. You're up before dawn for physical training. Long marches in the Alabama heat. Weapons training on everything from the M1 Garand to mortars to hand grenades. You learn to dig foxholes, set up defensive positions, read maps, identify enemy aircraft and vehicles. Can you feel the sweat dripping down your back as you stand at attention in the blazing sun? The weight of the pack digging into your shoulders on those endless marches. The NCOs are merciless. Sergeant Greenway is particularly tough. Regular Army, probably. And he's determined to turn college boys into soldiers. After your first round of basic training, there's no room at officer candidate school. So what does the Army do? They send you through basic training again. Another 16 weeks of the same grueling routine. By the time you finally get to OCS at Fort Benning, Georgia, you know these skills cold. You can disassemble and reassemble an M1 Garand with ease. You can read a topographical map as well as any Boy Scout. Your marksmanship has improved with each repetition. Fort Benning is where they separate the wheat from the chaff. The school graduates a class of 200 new lieutenants every single day. That's how desperate the need for infantry officers has become. The training is intense. They're not just teaching you to be platoon leaders. They're preparing you to command battalions. You learn tactics, leadership, logistics. You participate in elaborate field exercises with tanks and aircraft, like something from a Hollywood movie set. Do you realize what you're being prepared for? The statistics are brutal. Infantry makes up only 20% of the Army, but suffers 80% of the casualties. And junior officers, they have bullseyes on their backs. The Germans know how to target leaders first. But there's something else happening during this training. Your Boy Scout experience gives you an edge over the city boys who've never spent a night outdoors. You're comfortable in the wilderness. You understand map and compass work intuitively. These small advantages might just keep you alive. November 1944. You're assigned to the 69th Infantry Division at Camp Shelby, Mississippi. For 3 months, you train with your platoon, 40 men who will be your responsibility in combat. You get to know them, their strengths and weaknesses, who you can rely on and who might crack under pressure. This is crucial bonding time that many replacement officers never get. Your platoon sergeant is Donald Cameron, who claims to have been with the 82nd Airborne in North Africa. Maybe he's telling the truth, maybe not. A lot of guys make up stories about their combat experience, but he seems competent enough. Finally, orders come through. You're shipping out to England. When you arrive, you're immediately designated as Strategic Reserve. While you train in the English countryside, the Battle of the Bulge erupts in Belgium. It's December 16th, 1944, and the Germans have launched a massive surprise offensive through the Ardennes forest. American forces are reeling. Then comes the blow that might have saved your life. The Army needs immediate replacements for the units being chewed up in the Bulge. On Christmas Day, 50% of your division's riflemen are stripped away and sent to the front. Every other man in your platoon, 20 soldiers you've trained with for months, is gone. You're left with a skeleton force. Do you feel relief that you weren't sent immediately into that meat grinder? Or frustration that your carefully trained unit has been gutted? How do you maintain morale when half your men have been taken away? January 15th, 1945. Your division finally crosses the English Channel. You're headed for Belgium, where the Battle of the Bulge is winding down. Just a week before you're scheduled to enter combat, your missing men are returned to you. These 20 soldiers have survived the Bulge, but they're different now. They've seen things, done things. They have the 1,000-yard stare of men who've looked death in the face. You have 1 week to integrate these combat veterans back into your platoon before you all go into the line together. 1 week to rebuild unit cohesion. 1 week before you face your first German. Can you sense the fear mixed with anticipation? The weight of responsibility for 40 lives? You're about to discover if all that training has prepared you for the reality of combat. The time for playing soldier is over. February 1945. Your convoy of trucks rolls through the Belgian countryside toward the front lines. Through Saint-Vith, you can see the devastation left by the Battle of the Bulge. The town is completely demolished. Barely a building left standing. Frozen corpses still litter the snowfields, American and German alike. Trees have been scythed down by artillery fire, leaving stumps like broken teeth. The sound of artillery grows louder as you approach the Siegfried Line, Germany's western defensive barrier. Miles of concrete pillboxes, dragon's teeth tank obstacles, minefields, and interlocking fields of fire that have been 4 years in the making. Your 69th Division is relieving the battle-worn 99th Infantry Division. As the veterans file past your fresh troops, you see the hollow eyes, the filthy uniforms, the exhaustion etched into their faces. One of them mutters to you as he passes, "Good luck, Lieutenant. You're gonna need it." Do you wonder if you'll look like that in a month? If you'll even last a month? You're assigned a sector near Bollingen, about 1,800 yards from the main German fortifications. Your first task? Dig in and hold the line. The ground is frozen solid, and your entrenching tools ring against it like you're hitting concrete. It takes hours to dig a proper foxhole, your hands blistering inside your gloves despite the cold. You establish a routine, 2 men per foxhole, one always awake. The temperature drops well below freezing at night. Your breath forms ice crystals on your scarf. Your feet go numb in your boots. Some men are already showing signs of trench foot. But you wonder if some of them aren't taking care of their feet deliberately, looking for a ticket off the front. The Germans are creatures of habit. Every day at the same time, you could set your watch by it, their artillery opens up. Boom, 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 boom. The 105mm shells walk across your positions with mechanical precision. You learn to recognize the sound of incoming rounds, the whistle that means you have seconds to get down. Do you hear it now? That freight train sound of heavy artillery. Can you feel the ground shake as the shells impact? One morning, a blizzard provides cover for a German probe of your lines. Through the swirling snow, you spot gray figures moving between the trees. Your M1 Garand feels reassuringly solid in your hands. 8 rounds, semi-automatic, accurate at range. The Germans are still using slow bolt-action Mausers. "Hold your fire," you whisper down the line. "Let them get closer." The Germans advance cautiously, unaware they're walking into your kill zone. At 50 yards, you give the order. The crisp crack of M1 rifles fills the air. The Germans retreat, leaving motionless dark shapes in the snow. Your first combat, your first kills. How does it feel? Relief that you survived? Guilt? Or just a hollow numbness? The medics in your platoon wear helmets painted with large red crosses on white circles. They're not supposed to carry weapons, and they refuse to stand guard duty, even though you're stretched thin. This frustrates you. In a foxhole with two men, if one can't take watch, the other never gets to sleep. But these medics are brave in their own way, crawling out under fire to treat the wounded, completely exposed and unarmed. 2 weeks into your stint on the Siegfried Line, intelligence reports suggest a German withdrawal. The capture of the Remagen Bridge on March 7th, 35 miles to your north, has unhinged the entire German defensive position. They need to pull back across the Rhine or risk being trapped. Your company gets orders to advance. After weeks of static warfare, you're finally moving forward. You enter the abandoned German positions carefully, wary of booby traps. The pillboxes are marvels of engineering, walls of reinforced concrete several feet thick, with interlocking fields of fire covering every approach. If the Germans had decided to make a real stand here, the cost would have been astronomical. Moving through the fortifications, you find evidence of hasty withdrawal, half-eaten meals, personal effects, even weapons left behind. Your men collect souvenirs eagerly: Nazi flags, helmets, ceremonial daggers. You have to remind them to stay focused. The war isn't over yet. The advance leads you to the town of Dahlem, a cluster of neat German houses around a church square. For the first time in a month, you're sleeping indoors. You simply inform the inhabitants that they have 1 hour to leave, then take over their homes. No discussion, no negotiation. Can you imagine the looks on the German civilians' faces? The fear? The resentment? These people who cheered Hitler's victories must now submit to American occupation. Your platoon sets up in a comfortable house, real beds, running water, even a working stove. After a month of freezing in foxholes, it feels like unimaginable luxury. But you can't relax completely. You post guards, establish defensive positions. The Germans have a nasty habit of counterattacking when you least expect it. March 27th, 1945. Your division moves up to the Rhine River, Germany's last major natural barrier. You expect a bloody crossing, but the Germans have already withdrawn to the eastern bank. You cross in assault boats without losing a single man from your platoon. General Eisenhower himself notes with satisfaction that the 69th Division lost only 16 men in the entire Rhine crossing, a remarkably low number for 15,000 troops. Once across, everything changes. You're assigned tanks from the 777th Tank Battalion. For the first time, instead of walking everywhere, you're riding. Your captain gives you new orders. Mount your men on the tanks and pursue the retreating Germans aggressively. Don't give them time to establish new defensive lines. But there's a problem. A tank can't carry a full squad of 12 men safely. You have to split your squads, putting part on one tank, part on another. Your carefully maintained unit integrity starts to break down. The assistant squad leaders suddenly have to take charge of their own groups. You're spreading your leadership dangerously thin. Do you see the dilemma? Move fast and risk losing control of your units? Or maintain integrity and let the Germans escape? The tanks race forward at speeds you never achieved on foot, sometimes covering 40 miles in a single day. You're entering a new phase of the war, the pursuit. German resistance is crumbling, but it hasn't collapsed entirely. There are still fanatics ready to die for the Third Reich. And as you're about to discover, a cornered enemy is often the most dangerous. You're clinging to the back of a tank as it races down a German country road. It's late March 1945. and your division is part of the Allied avalanche pouring into the heart of the Reich. The tank's engine heat warms your back, a welcome relief after the freezing foxholes of the Siegfried Line. Your men are scattered across several tanks, holding on for dear life as you charge toward the next objective, Kassel. The landscape blurs past, neat German farms, small villages, forests budding with early spring growth. Occasionally, white sheets hang from windows, surrender flags from civilians who want no part of the fighting, but you can't trust them. You've learned that lesson already. Sometimes those white flags disappear as soon as you pass, replaced by German soldiers who fire into your rear. Your tank column approaches the town of Landwehrhagen, just east of Kassel. The lead tank stops abruptly. Through your binoculars, you can see why. Germans have felled trees across the road, blocking passage, with mines hidden among the tangled trunks. It'll take engineers hours to clear this obstacle. What's your move? Wait for the engineers while giving the Germans more time to prepare defenses? Or look for another route that may also be blocked? Or worse, ambushed? As you're considering options, Private Lopez, your messenger from California, comes running. "Lieutenant, the Germans are counterattacking from the east." You've learned at OCS that the Germans will always counterattack. It's doctrine for them, almost reflexive, regardless of the tactical situation. Even when outnumbered, even when it's hopeless, they attack. You position your platoon in a gully that provides good cover and fields of fire. Here they come. Maybe 2 platoons of German infantry advancing across an open field. Some look like regular Wehrmacht, but others are clearly Volkssturm. The people storm. Old men and boys in mismatched uniforms, some without proper boots. It's pathetic and dangerous at the same time. A 16-year-old with a Panzerfaust anti-tank weapon can kill you just as dead as a veteran soldier. Your M1 Garans open up with disciplined fire. The Germans advance a few more yards, then break and retreat, leaving their dead and wounded in the field. The assistant battalion commander, a West Pointer, arrives and wants to pursue. "Fix bayonets," he orders. "Let's go get him." Is he serious? A bayonet charge in 1945? But orders are orders. You fix your bayonet, the long blade clicking into place on your rifle's muzzle, and lead your men forward. As you advance across the field, the surviving Germans throw up their hands and surrender. The counterattack was just a delaying action, trying to buy time for the main force to withdraw to the next town. The next day, your company gets orders to take Benteroda, a small town that intelligence says is lightly defended. Captain Moore assigns you to be the reserve platoon, while the other 2 advance on either flank. You breathe a small sigh of relief. Reserve means you might avoid the worst of the fighting. But as the attack begins, everything goes wrong. Hidden German machine gun nests on a hill open fire on the advancing platoons. The distinctive ripping sound of MG-42s tears through the morning air. Men are falling, crying for medics. The attack stalls. From your reserve position moving up a draw, you spot Germans in front of a bridge, inexplicably positioned on the wrong side to defend it effectively. They can't retreat without exposing themselves. You send squads up both sides of the draw with orders to converge their fire, while another soldier moves up the middle with grenades. The tactic works. The Germans are eliminated or surrender. But the real problem is those machine guns on the hill. They have your entire company pinned down. You watch as Private Mortensen from 1st Platoon, not one of your men, makes a decision that'll earn him the Distinguished Service Cross. With 3 grenades and incredible courage, he charges alone up the hill. You see him disappear into the German position. The machine guns fall silent. Mortensen has single-handedly saved the company from catastrophic casualties. How do you process such bravery? Could you have done the same? Would you have ordered one of your men to even try it? By the end of the day, Bentirota is taken, but at a cost. This single small town has produced more casualties for your company than any other engagement. You walk among the dead, helping with the grim task of identification. Some of these boys don't look old enough to shave. Others seem merely asleep until you see the dark stains beneath them. That evening, Captain Moore gives you a new assignment. Lead the entire regiment toward Witzenhausen. You'll be in the first jeep, the point element for 3,000 men. It's an honor and a curse. If there's an ambush, you'll be the first to find it. The next morning, you're in that lead jeep with your driver, maps spread on your lap, navigating country roads toward the Vera River. The countryside seems peaceful, almost surreal after the violence of yesterday. Then 1,000 yards ahead, you spot it. A Tiger tank. Its long 88mm gun turning toward you. Do you freeze? Bail out of the jeep? Order the driver to reverse? The Tiger fires. The shell screams past, impacting the road just 15 yards behind your jeep. By the time the German tank crew reloads, you're out of the vehicle and in the ditch. Your driver racing the jeep in reverse around a bend. The entire regiment behind you stops. Infantry dismounting from vehicles, spreading out into combat formation. Hours later, reconnaissance reports that the Tiger has been abandoned in a ravine, burning. Mechanical problems, probably. The complex German tanks break down constantly. But that one tank held up an entire regiment for half a day. You wonder how different the war might have been if the Germans had reliable fuel and spare parts for their superior equipment. April 1945. Your division is assigned to take Leipzig, Germany's 5th largest city. This will be your first real urban combat. Intelligence estimates thousands of defenders. The city is also full of foreign workers, refugees, and German civilians. Maybe 500,000 people total. The plan is simple. The 2nd Infantry Division attacks from the west, your 69th from the east, with the 9th Armored protecting the flanks. You'll link up in the city center. But simple plans rarely survive contact with the enemy. As you enter Leipzig's eastern suburbs, the nature of combat changes completely. Instead of open fields and small towns, you're fighting through industrial areas, apartment blocks, rubble-filled streets. Every window could hide a sniper. Every pile of debris might conceal a machine gun nest. Can you feel the tension ratcheting up? The way your shoulders hunch, expecting a bullet between the shoulder blades? How do you know which buildings to clear and which to bypass? Your platoon advances street by street. The tanks that were so effective in open country now hesitate. In these narrow streets, they're vulnerable to Panzerfaust attacks from upper-story windows. So it's infantry first again. The tanks following only after you've cleared the way. In one apartment building, you find German civilians huddled in the cellar. Old people, women, children. They stare at you with a mixture of fear and resignation. One old woman offers you bread. Whether as a bribe or simple humanity, you're not sure. You leave them and move on. As you push deeper into the city, white flags begin appearing from windows. The mayor of Leipzig has committed suicide rather than surrender the city. Madness and desperation are everywhere. By the second day, organized resistance collapses. You link up with elements of the 2nd Division in the city center. Leipzig is taken. Your company has been lucky, only light casualties. But the scene around you is one of utter devastation. Centuries of architecture, reduced to rubble. Bodies in the streets. The mighty Third Reich, which was supposed to last 1,000 years, is dying before your eyes. Your division pushes on to the Mulda River, where you're ordered to stop. You don't know it yet, but you've entered what will become the Soviet occupation zone. The Mulda will be your final position. 20 miles away, across another river, the Elbe, the Soviet army is advancing from the east. On April 25th, 1945, patrols from your division make contact with Russian forces near Torgau. It's the link-up that cuts Germany in two. The war is all but over. But for you, there's one more duty to perform. One that'll prove in some ways more challenging than combat itself. It's late April 1945. The German army is falling apart. What started as a trickle of prisoners has become a flood. They come streaming down the roads. Individuals, squads, entire companies, sometimes complete regiments marching in formation under their own officers with white flags tied to their rifles. You're standing at a crossroads with just 3 men from your platoon, trying to process hundreds of surrendering Germans. How do you handle this? You're supposed to disarm them, search them, document them, and send them to prisoner collection points. But the sheer numbers make proper procedures impossible. You develop your own system, have them pile their weapons in the road, then order your tank to run over the rifles, crushing them beyond repair. The Mauser rifles splinter under the treads with satisfying crunches, the weapons silenced for good. The prisoners themselves are a mix that tells the story of Germany's collapse. There are boys who look no older than 14, their uniforms hanging loose on undernourished frames. There are old men from the Volkssturm, some still wearing their civilian shoes because the army ran out of boots. Regular Wehrmacht soldiers march with professional bearing despite defeat. And occasionally, SS troops still arrogant even in captivity, their distinctive collar tabs hastily removed, but the outlines still visible on their uniforms. What do you feel looking at these enemies who've become prisoners? Relief that they're out of the war? Anger at what their nation has done? Or just exhaustion and a desire for all of this to end? One group particularly captures your attention. They're not military at all, but rather civilians in military uniforms, railway workers, postal employees, even firefighters who were pressed into service. In the Reich's final desperate hours, they were given rifles and told to defend the fatherland. Most never fired a shot. The German military system is revealing itself in defeat. Everything so organized, so documented. Prisoners still carry their Zoldbuch, their military payment and identification books. Some have letters from home, photographs of families, lucky charms. They're human beings, not the fanatical Nazi automatons you expected. They've heard propaganda about American brutality, especially toward SS troops. Some frantically try to explain they're not Nazis, just soldiers doing their duty. Others maintain stubborn silence. One afternoon, a German major approaches under a white flag. He speaks excellent English. Pre-war, he was a businessman who traveled to America. He wants to surrender his entire battalion, nearly 500 men, but he has conditions. His men must be kept together. Officers must retain their sidearms for, quote, maintaining discipline, and they need guarantees about treatment under the Geneva Convention. Do you negotiate? Do you have the authority? Or do you simply demand unconditional surrender? You tell him bluntly, unconditional surrender, no weapons, no guarantees beyond what the Geneva Convention already provides. He agrees. What choice does he have? His battalion marches in, stacks arms, and joins the growing columns heading west. The most surreal moment comes when you realize many of these Germans know more about the strategic situation than you do. Captured officers carry maps showing the agreed-upon occupation zones, information so secret that even American division commanders don't have it. The Germans know that your current position will soon be turned over to the Soviets. They're desperate to be captured by Americans rather than Russians. Nicht Russisch, nicht Russisch, they plead. Not Russian. Even hardened Wehrmacht veterans who fought on the Eastern Front turn pale at the thought of Soviet captivity. They know what their army did in Russia. They know what's coming in return. May 7th, 1945. You're processing another group of prisoners when word comes over the radio. Germany has surrendered unconditionally. The war in Europe is over. You expect celebration, but instead there's just a strange quietness. Men shake hands, some smile wearily, but there's no wild jubilation. Everyone's too exhausted, too aware of the friends who aren't here to celebrate. How do you mark this moment? The war that has consumed your life for 2 years is suddenly over. What now? For the German prisoners, the announcement brings relief and despair in equal measure. Their country is destroyed, occupied, divided. Many don't know if their families are alive, if their homes still exist. The younger soldiers seem almost lost. War is all they've known in their adult lives. In the following weeks, you're assigned to run a prisoner of war camp in Austria with 4,000 German inmates. The camp is a former German facility, complete with barbed wire and guard towers. Irony, since the Wehrmacht soldiers are now behind their own wire. You're the American commander, but the Germans run the internal administration. A German major reports to you each morning with the count, sick list, and any issues. When you need a haircut, 5 barbers appear instantly. When your Jeep needs maintenance, German mechanics fix it better than the motor pool ever did. They're eager to please, hoping for better treatment, earlier release, news from home. The camp becomes a strange mirror of military life. The Germans maintain their rank structure, conduct formations, even hold classes. Former teachers instruct on languages and mathematics. Musicians give concerts. It's as if they're trying to preserve some dignity, some structure in defeat. Do you admire their discipline, or does it disturb you? These men who followed orders that led to untold destruction now follow your orders with equal precision. Among the prisoners, fault lines emerge. Regular army blames the SS for the war's excesses. The SS blames the party leadership for strategic failures. Everyone blames Hitler, now safely dead. Nobody admits to being a real Nazi. It was always someone else, somewhere else. One day, searching through a prisoner's belongings, you find photographs from the Eastern Front. Images that make your stomach turn, mass graves, burning villages, things that confirm the rumors you've been hearing about German conduct in Russia and Poland. When confronted, the prisoner claims he was, quote, just following orders, quote, just a soldier. The phrase will haunt the coming decades. Can you accept that excuse? Where does military duty end and moral responsibility begin? The screening process trying to separate war criminals from regular soldiers, Nazis from non-Nazis. It's almost impossible. Party membership cards have been burned, uniforms changed, identities obscured. Some of the most fanatical Nazis now claim they were secretly anti-Hitler all along. Some who actually did resist the regime have no proof and remain under suspicion. As spring turns to summer 1945, the prisoner releases begin. Those with clean records, especially if they have needed skills, farmers, miners, construction workers, are released first. They're given discharge papers and told to make their way home, often hundreds of miles on foot through a devastated country. You watch them leave, these defeated enemies, walking down the dusty road in small groups. Some still wear parts of their uniforms. It's all the clothing they have. They carry their few possessions in makeshift bundles. They're going home to rebuild their lives, their country, perhaps their honor. What have you learned from these men who were your enemies? That they're human? Certainly. That war makes ordinary people do extraordinary things, both heroic and horrific. That the line between enemy and victim can be surprisingly thin. Soon, it'll be your turn to go home. May 30th, 1946. You stand on the deck of the transport ship as it enters Hampton Roads, Virginia. You're finally home. The American coastline emerges from the morning mist like a dream you're afraid might dissolve. But who is this person returning? You're not the eager young lieutenant who shipped out in 1944. You're someone caught between two worlds. The one you left and the one you're returning to. You take the train back to New Jersey, still wearing your uniform because it's the only clothing that fits. The civilians on the train give you respectful nods. Some offer to buy you coffee or sandwiches. They mean well, but their questions, did you kill anyone? What was it like? Are impossible to answer honestly. How do you explain Leipzig or Benterode to someone who's never left New Jersey? Your mother meets you at the station. She's aged more than 2 years in your absence. You remember she served too. As a WAC, one of the few mothers who enlisted. She understands something about service, about sacrifice. But even she can't fully grasp what you've experienced. The house in Hasbrook Heights feels impossibly small and quiet after months in camps and combat zones. Your bedroom looks like it belongs to a stranger. That boy who left for Fort McClellan in 1943. His books are still on the shelf, his high school football trophy on the dresser. Who was that person? Can you feel the disconnect? The sense that you're play acting at being civilian, that everyone expects you to just pick up where you left off. Within a week, you're back at Rutgers, registering for summer courses to officially complete your degree. The campus is transformed, flooded with veterans using the GI Bill. Your fraternity house, Delta Kappa Epsilon, is different too. Half the brothers are veterans now. The parties are more subdued, the conversations more serious. Late at night, sometimes someone will start talking about their war, not the heroics, but the real stuff, the fear, the guilt about surviving when others didn't, the things that wake you at 3 a.m. Do you join these conversations or keep your own counsel? Is silence a form of protection or isolation? Your academic performance astounds everyone, including yourself. The student who barely scraped by before the war is now earning straight A's. It's not that you've become smarter. You've learned what matters. Every lecture, every book, every assignment is a privilege denied to those boys buried an ocean away. You apply to graduate schools, Harvard, Columbia, Wharton. When Harvard Business School accepts you, it feels like vindication. The boy from Hasbrook Heights who needed a year of prep school just to get into Rutgers is going to Harvard. September 1946. You marry Jane, the girl from Teaneck you met on a blind date back in 1943. She waited through your deployment, through the uncertainty, through the long months of occupation duty. The wedding is small, money is tight. Moving to Boston for Harvard feels like another deployment. You're entering unknown territory again. Some nights, the war comes back uninvited. You wake in a cold sweat, reaching for a rifle that isn't there. A car backfiring sends you diving for cover before you remember you're in Cambridge, not Germany. Jane learns not to wake you suddenly, not to ask too many questions about the nightmares. But there's also something healing about this immersion in normal life, planning for a future that extends beyond the next patrol, the next town, the next day, building something instead of destroying it. using your mind for creation rather than survival? Can you feel yourself slowly becoming civilian again? Or are you just learning to hide the soldier better? The 69th Infantry Division holds reunions, but you attend sporadically. It's hard to reconcile the old men with canes and hearing aids with the young soldiers you remember. Yet when you do attend, the years fall away. You're all 23 again, preparing to cross the Rhine, advancing through Germany, wondering if you'll survive the next town. You were one of the lucky ones. You came home physically intact, mentally stable enough to build a life. The GI Bill gave you opportunities your parents never could have provided. You were there for the end, when victory was certain, not for the meat grinder of D-Day or the Battle of the Bulge. But lucky is a relative term. You still paid a price. The innocence that died somewhere between the Siegfried Line and the Elbe River. Looking back now, what was it all for? To stop fascism, certainly. To prevent the 1,000-year Reich from becoming reality. To liberate concentration camps you didn't even know existed until after they were freed. To preserve democracy, however imperfect, against totalitarianism, but also for smaller things. For the men beside you in those foxholes, for Captain Moore, who led from the front, for Private Lopez, your messenger, who you hope made it home to California, for the abstract idea of duty that seems almost quaint in modern times, but meant everything then. The world you helped save went on to face new challenges: the Cold War, Korea, Vietnam, conflicts you watched from the sidelines, with the hard-earned wisdom of someone who's been there. You know that war is sometimes necessary, but never glorious. That it asks ordinary people to do incredible things. That the real heroes often don't come home. You are Crandon F. Clark, 2nd Lieutenant, 69th Infantry Division. You were on the front line when the world hung in the balance. You did your duty. You came home. And that, perhaps, is enough. This story can be shared thanks to a partnership with the Rutgers University Oral History Archives. If you've got a story you'd like their help in sharing, visit oralhistory.rutgers.edu. That's oralhistory.rutgers.edu. Visit povworldwar2.com for podcast updates and more. That's povww2.com. I'm Fernando Prieto. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a positive review or rating. It actually makes a huge difference in helping people find these stories and only takes a few seconds. This story can be shared thanks to a partnership with the Rutgers University Oral History Archives. If you've got a story you'd like their help in sharing, visit oralhistory.rutgers.edu. That's oralhistory.rutgers.edu. Visit povworldwar2.com for podcast updates and more. That's povww2.com. I'm Fernando Prieto. Thanks again for listening.